Hello everyone and welcome to my podcast. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Kobaha. I'm an intuitive, spiritual facilitator and crystal therapist. I live in northern Arizona. You can find information about my sacred work on my Facebook page and YouTube channel at Mystic Dragonfly Whispers. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about our interconnection with Earth and with each other. If a home is not cleaned and cared for, it will become run down and less habitable or even unlivable. It's no different with our broader surroundings, from the immediate environment to the entire planet. If we disconnect from the natural world, we become disconnected from who we are, to the detriment of our health and the health of the ecosystems on which our survival depends. Understanding we're part of nature and acting on that understanding makes us healthier and happier and encourages us to care for the natural systems around us. People living in areas with many trees, especially large trees, report feeling healthier than people in areas with fewer trees. People also living in areas with abundant green space live longer and experience lower rates of anxiety, depression, upper respiratory tract infections, asthma than people deprived of nature. Exposure to nature can have positive effects on mental, psychological health, healing, heart rate, concentration, levels of stress, blood pressure, behavior, and other health factors. Science is giving us a better understanding of the many ways preserving, caring for, and restoring natural spaces can improve the lives of humans and other beings, and how connecting with nature increases our desire to protect and reduce our negative impacts on our surroundings. It is true that once we start the practice of caring for others, humans and other species, in the same way as we care for ourselves, we begin to realize that our perception of separate self was in itself a limited perspective. We are relational beings in a world where everything affects everything, and therefore to care for others is to care for ourselves. The way to care for ourselves and our families, the way to sustain this and future generations of human beings is to care for life as a whole. At the very core, all the world's spiritual traditions and sacred texts reflect upon the question of right relationships between people and between all of life. More than 60 years ago, Albert Einstein saw the challenge ahead. He said, "A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature." Einstein understood the limitations we impose on ourselves by our way of thinking, which determines what we focus on and how we see the world. He asked us to question who we are and our relationships with all life and the universe as a whole. Einstein invited us to explore a different perspective. Would it not be better to care for all of life and the planetary life support system in ways that assure that our species gets an opportunity to live to maturity and wisdom? Are we not also curious what our species might be capable if we widen our circles of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature? By caring for the earth and all of life, we care for ourselves. By embracing our own nature as expressions of nature, humanity can become a conscious force of healing. By keeping the limits of our own knowing in mind, we can begin to contribute to the flourishing of life. Earth is our only home, but it's more than that. We are part of the natural system that make up our planet and its atmosphere, and what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. We are interconnected with nature and with each other. What we do to the planet and its living creatures, we do to ourselves. It's our duty to care for our immediate environment and all of the planet. Doing so will make us healthier and happier.